Okay guys, let's talk Season 4 Chaska. In Season 3 I really liked Chaska. He had some really good tools in his boombox and pushes, and he was very efficient if I needed him to be, in that he could take no influence and still do stuff by dropping a trap. Also, I love Tough Skin. Tough Skin is a fantastic ability. Now the problem was, as I started to play more games and as I started to limit myself to only taking a set 10 rather than just taking whatever models I felt like for fun, Chaska stopped seeing the table really very much at all. And that's simply because, though he has great abilities, the circumstances in which he particularly shines don't really come up that reliably. And there are other models with abilities that I want more. Now in Season 4 he's changed a bit, but as with much of the other Hunter changes, the style of play of the model hasn't changed. They've just got a bit better at it. And I think that's the case for Chaska, which worries me because it wasn't so much the fact that he wasn't good, but it's just some of his fundamentals in just the way he works that meant he wasn't getting on the team. And so I sort of suspect he's going to be dropping down to the bottom of my picks again, which sucks because I really like him. But let's get into the changes. So what changed? The playbook got simplified. So we've lost the tackle on 2, which is that sucks. And we've lost the push and damage at the same time. So a bit of a simple playbook. We've kept his short 4 brewer playbook, which is shorter than his tack. One thing that really stands out is this momentous double push on 1. Goodness me, that's strong. He now has a very dangerous counter attack, and quite often I was looking to hit this second column and could hit it fairly reliably to do various things like push things out of cover or into traps or off the pitch, that kind of thing. So now it's even easier to hit. Hell yes, that is amazing. And we've also got a momentous 2 damage on 2, which, that's buffed his damage up a bit. He's now more combaty than he was before, and generates momentum whilst doing it, so that's appreciated. So better pushes, more momentous damage, what's not to like? Moving into his character plays, he's retained Tough Skin, which is amazing. I'm so happy about that because I really love that ability, and we'll talk about that more when I talk about some model synergies. But let's move to Boombox, and the changes to this are okay. Let's talk about the good stuff. So it has changed from being 4 damage to 6 damage, and still pushes the enemy 4 inches away. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. And the range has now gone to 6 inches rather than 4 inches, so he can do that from further away, potentially better angles than he could before. One of the best uses of this gun is to push stuff off the pitch, and if you've got a winger lurking, thinking they're safe out on the flank, and Chaska can just run out, and he can be hiding in the center and still sprint over and shoot them off the table. Finally, it's got more accurate, as the cast is now 3, so we'll be rolling 3 dice to hit, 4 with a bonus time, and with rolling 4 dice, you can start to take some shots on some of the better defended models in the game, which really don't want to be taking 6 damage in a 4-inch push. So just like before, this gun is serious business. But what are the downsides? So obviously, the first thing to talk about is it's now once per turn. Previously, you could load Chaska up with his 4 influence, take 2 boomboxes, and give him a blessing of the Sunfather for a 3rd one, and even give him a last light to take the fabled quad boombox, if you could wangle it so that he'd still be in range. Typically, though, you'd be giving him 2 influence and then a blessing, and then he'd walk up to something, shoot it, then shoot it again for a nice cool 8 damage and an 8-inch push. Can't do that anymore, unfortunately. And that's the double-edged sword with this cast 3. Is that 2 influence isn't too much to just pop on Chaska, and he could do quite a lot with that. So the enemy would be wary of him boomboxing, but he could also just charge and get a knockdown. He could walk up to something, drop a trap and push it around, do a bit of damage, or tackle and do something with the ball. To threaten that kind of thing now, you need to be using 3 influence on him, which is starting to eat into the hunter's allocation, which is normally pretty tight. So despite the fact that Boombox is ostensibly better in Season 4, it basically demands that you give him Blessing, which makes you slightly more predictable. Although yes, his overall damage has increased with the same amount of influence. For example, so say you give him 2 influence, and you give him the Blessing, and he walks up, hits something for 2 momentous damage, and then does his Boombox. He's done 10 damage with the same influence that he would have done with 8 from 2 Boomboxes before. And he's generated you 2 momentum. So it sort of is better, but it's not quite as good as I first thought. Final changes are, so he's one of our big game trap makers, and basically his traps now do 1 damage as well as snared, which is, yeah, straight up better. And Mud Concealer has changed to, instead of giving armor, giving +1 defense. Which is nice because, although I don't know how it changes the maths for normal attacks, I think it's probably fairly similar between having 3-2 armor and 4-1 armor. But it does make him less vulnerable to range character plays, just by sitting in a patch of mud, which is nice. So let's talk about Chaska's role in the team now. I always liked him because he's such a great all-rounder. He's reasonably fast. I always think that he's quite slow, but he is reasonably fast with a 5-8 movement. He's got a 3-6 kick, and he can surprise people. With light-footed, he can bolt from terrain. Get the ball or be given the ball. Sprint 8, shoot 6. He's actually not bad at getting a goal, especially with his ability to break free from engagement with pushes or shotgun blasts, or move people out of the way. And that really is his bread and butter. That's his kind of defining tool, is his ability to move the enemy. And pushes are otherwise pretty hard to come by in Hunters. And now his pushes are essentially better, a little bit from Boombox having extra range, but mostly from this double push on 1. I really see that as the main thing that would put him in the team. As I said, you can have him lurking, seemingly quite centrally. And something moves just a little bit too close to the edge of the pitch, and Chaska sprinted 8 inches and pushed you 6 inches off the pitch. Or if there's a scrum up happening and the ball's being protected, he can go in and break open those formations. Alternatively, he can sit back and not really do much, and just drop his trap. Not taking any influence, not really being too much of a threat, but still being really annoying. Putting out snared and holding ground until it's time to switch gears, load him up and go on a bit of a rampage. So he can do quite a lot. He can be a battery, he can be a frontline influence hog, he can get kills and he can get goals. One other thing to mention is he can also support the team with his tough skin. Hunters have recently benefited from a slew of very high defense models. Matagi, Scatha, veteran Minx, who can get themselves into vulnerable positions doing what they need to do. And 5 defense, 1 armor is a really, really nice thing to have. And in veteran Minx's case, 5-2, making her probably one of the hardest to hit models in the game. Scatha in particular is looking at this because with her recent buffs, she is unbelievably dangerous, and the enemy should be gunning for her. And she's likely to be sitting somewhere roughly in the midfield, quite close to where much of the enemy's power is concentrated. And 5-1 defense will go a long way to keeping her standing. Ulfa too could benefit from some extra armor on his turn 1 goal run. Yeah, who doesn't benefit from armor? I'm a massive fan of Tuskin. So this is all sounding great, and I've got to be honest, I'm starting to talk myself more into Chaska at the moment. But what are his weaknesses? Well, they are what they've always been. And first off, he is a 3 defense at base, and 3-1, and that makes him vulnerable. 3-1 is not particularly daunting. Yes, he goes to 4-1 when in rough terrain, and it might be a problem with the meta I play in, but goodness, it's tough to find some rough terrain on a pitch. It's all obstacles. And this is one of the things that stopped me from putting Chaska in my 10 in the first place, is that with so little chance of rough ground, it hurts him. He becomes quite vulnerable. He's pretty easy to take out. He's got a great counterattack, But at melee zone 1, the things that are going to be going and doing the majority of kills, as in going for things like Chaska, don't care. They're either 2-inch melee and they don't get within range, or they knock you down first. So whilst it is a great option to have, it doesn't come up that often. Another side to this vulnerability is Chaska's positioning, or his kind of movement on the pitch. So he's not slow, he's actually quite fast. But the way he plays, or at least how I've found that I've ended up playing him, is he holds ground, or he tries to. So so he's got his benefit for trying to stay within a particular area of the pitch, within a particular terrain. Almost, if you're lucky to have the rough ground, there'll only be one on the pitch. So he'll be kind of not limited, but encouraged to be staying within that area. And I just found, because of the way he plays with, so not generally taking too much influence in the early game, and then towards the end game, then you start to spike him for the good stuff. Most of the time, he's hanging back and playing a sort of keep out game with his shotgun, blasting the enemy back, or running up, dropping a trap, and providing a crowd out, which tends to put him in the enemy's way. And whilst he's got the offense to do this ground holding role, the defense isn't there. He doesn't have any other defensive or kind of protective abilities to help him tarp it. And I think it really comes down to that. He's got great abilities, but the rest of the team wants to be playing a highly mobile, dodgy game, and he's sort of the odd duck. I think he works probably better with Theron, which is sort of ironic because in Season 3 I never used him with Theron, I only used him with Scatha. And I just think Scatha wants other fast models to help support her goal game. She wants the support model in terms of Zarola to help again with the movement. And for damage, she really needs something explosive like Cena or J-Car. And I mean, Chaska can do it, but in Season 3 at least, in order for him to do his big damage, he took lots of momentum and didn't give it back, i.e. he was using Boombox, which was taking 2 influence or momentum a time and not generating anything until he made a kill with it. And maybe I need to reassess this in Season 4, because his Boombox, I'm never going to be paying a straight 3 influence for that. But now Scatha can get the Blessing of the Sunfather from Veteran Minx in her team, and I don't have to pay a Last Light momentum fee for that. It's only once per turn, so it's only costing me 1 momentum to do it, and he's got this momentous 2 damage, as well as this great momentous double push. Gonna keep harking on about that. Maybe he can generate more momentum, and he's not so momentum greedy to do the damage anymore. And perhaps he could take J-Car's place in some matchups. I'm really gonna have to test that out, because I still really like J-Car. But he's got the same trap, and he's got tough skin on top of it. Maybe. I'll have to test it out and see. But Theron certainly plays more to the damage game. He's got more access to Blessing the Sunfather, so I can see Chaska making more Theron lists. When to take him against particular things? Well, blacksmiths, obviously. Anything with high armor, so masons as well. Get that boombox damage in against their supposedly low health apprentices. Models with low defense but important wingers to keep them honest on the flanks. Again, his defense 3 sort of puts him at risk of being gotten at his own game. But again, as I said, I like the idea of playing him more centrally and then running out to the wing rather than sitting him kind of obviously on it. And yeah, finally, when terrain is favourable, you've got a nice big patch of rough ground somewhere, preferably on your side of the pitch, as I think Chaska still plays better defensively early, and then making a surprise breakout when the opportunity arises. And so yeah, that's my opinion on Chaska. I'm definitely going to be trying him out. I just worry that there'll be other models that's basically faster and more mobile, that do more of what I want, slightly better, and Chaska's gonna still be sitting on the bench. But I live in hope, and I will try him out. Hope you enjoyed that. Take care.